He stopped believing in victory long before the war ended, not after a defeat, not after a retreat, but quietly, somewhere between hunger, cold, and watching boys disappear into the snow. This is the story of a German soldier on the Eastern Front who didn't lose the war in one moment. He lost the idea that winning still mattered. Day by day, belief was replaced by exhaustion, hope was replaced by routine, and victory was replaced by a single objective: survive until tomorrow. What you're about to hear is not a tale of strategy or glory. It's the slow collapse of meaning, written by a man who realized the war was no longer about winning, only about staying alive. That realization changed everything. At the beginning, victory felt real, not emotional, not heroic, just certain. He was young, trained, and assigned as a Panzerjäger, an anti-tank soldier. His role was dangerous but defined: destroy enemy armor, hold the line, advance when ordered. The war still had structure then. Maps made sense. Orders felt purposeful. Losses were explained as necessary. Even fear had limits. The first weeks on the Eastern Front were harsh but manageable. Endless marches, burned villages, civilians watching in silence, mud swallowing boots and vehicles alike. But there was still movement, direction, the sense that suffering had a destination. That illusion did not last. The distances were too large. The enemy did not collapse. When ground was taken, it was taken again. When villages fell, they were already empty or destroyed. At night, he wrote in his diary. Short notes at first, observations, weather, positions, names. Then winter arrived. Cold was no longer a condition. It was a force. It cracked skin, froze weapons, turned metal into fire. Men slept standing when they could not feel their legs anymore. Food shrank. Bread became thinner. Soup became water. Hunger sharpened everything. Pain, anger, fear. The diary changed tone, less reflection, more survival. Sentences became shorter, heavier, cold, waiting, shelling, death. Men stopped talking about when the war would end. They talked about when they would eat again, or sleep, or feel their fingers. Victory was still mentioned by officers, but no one repeated the word afterward. As an anti-tank soldier, his job meant waiting. Waiting while knowing that when the tanks appeared, there would be no time to think. He describes the sound first, the ground trembling, the air vibrating, then the shape emerging through smoke and snow. One mistake meant being crushed, burned, erased. When a tank was destroyed, there was no celebration, only silence and relief, and the awareness that another would come. Survival began to feel temporary. Then came the replacements. New soldiers arrived with clean uniforms and nervous energy. Some smiled, some asked questions. They spoke about the war ending soon, about medals, about going home. He watched them carefully. He did not argue. He did not warn them. He simply watched them walk forward. Many never came back. This is where belief truly began to break. Not in combat, but in repetition. He realized the front did not move forward in a meaningful way. It consumed men instead. Replacements filled spaces, then vanished. The spaces returned. Ground was measured in bodies, not kilometers. One morning, he wrote something different. He noticed he no longer thought in weeks or months, only in hours. Hold position until dark. Survive the night, move at dawn. The future had become unnecessary, combat blurred together. Attacks, withdrawals, counterattacks, each one feeling detached from the last. Orders arrived late. Supplies arrived damaged or frozen. Maps showed positions that no longer existed. Officers still spoke of holding ground at all costs. He began to ask himself silently whose cost that was. Victory had once meant winning the war. Now it meant surviving the day. He writes about guilt more often now. Not ideological guilt, survival guilt, watching friends die while he remained, feeling relief instead of sorrow, hating himself for both. Emotion became dangerous, numbness became protection. He stopped writing names, not because they didn't matter, but because writing them hurt too much. Enemy soldiers became shapes in the distance, threats, movements. Sometimes voices shouting across frozen fields. They looked too similar. Hatred faded. Ideology faded. Even anger faded. Only instinct remained. He noticed propaganda less and less. Reports of success felt disconnected, almost absurd. A different war was being described somewhere else. The war in the diary was colder, quieter, more personal. Fear changed shape. Early fear was sharp and sudden. Now it was constant. A background noise that never stopped. Like the cold. He describes moments of cruel beauty, sunlight over snow, silence after shelling, birds returning to ruined forests. These moments disturbed him. Because beauty meant life continued, and life continuing felt undeserved. As the front collapsed and reformed again, survival became mechanical. Eat when possible, sleep when allowed, fight when ordered. Thinking was reduced. Feeling was optional. Victory disappeared from the diary entirely, not replaced by defeat, but by endurance. In one of the final entries, he admits something he would never have written before. If the war ended tomorrow, he wasn't sure who he would be without it. The thought terrified him. The diary ends without triumph, without explanation, without closure, just survival, written by someone who no longer expected meaning. This is what the Eastern Front did. It didn't just destroy armies. It dismantled belief, slowly, quietly, until winning no longer mattered. He stopped believing in victory, not because he was weak, but because reality demanded something simpler. Stay alive. That was all. And for many, even that was impossible.